What's going on there, Double C?
Not much. I hope my voice is okay. Like, these late nights at the Combine just take a toll.
Well, yeah,
and
but the late night last night was different. It was the Women of the Combine event.
And you showed up. I appreciate you coming out for that.
Yeah, so you didn't let me. It's okay, man. And thank you very much for inviting and having me and everything. But it's a Women of the Combine event, so I was going to do a fairness in event act that it was open to men
Yes.
and agents, and you opened it up.
Literally anybody who wants to come.
Okay.
If you want to be an ally, you just can't be a misogynist.
Right.
Like, that's the deciding line between who can come if you're not a female.
So I get there, all right, and 6:30, something like that, and there are probably 40 people there. 38 women, and then this one guy named Cody Alexander, who I met last night. So I see this one guy leaning up against a pillar at Tavern South or whatever it's called, and I'm checking in, and I'm like, my man, I don't know you and you don't know me, but we're about ready to know each other real well a minute from now. We're going to hang out, okay? So, but then Kevin Warren eventually showed up. Who else?
George McCaskey was there.
Oh,
we were over 150 last night, which is one of
Nice.
our best turnouts we've had. It's something that we started 2019. Maybe there were 25, 30 people there total, and we've grown it every year. It's truly like the most rewarding feeling to see how much this thing has grown, and just where we have a space now where people come every single year. People have gotten jobs out of it. Like, the networking element is so important in Indianapolis. But when I started this, I was on the Vikings beat, and I didn't know how to navigate the Combine when I first came in 2018, and it gave me the idea, let's have a place for women. Like, we travel in packs here because, we're outnumbered, and to have somebody you can buddy up with, have somebody who can teach you how to talk to agents, how to network, how to, cultivate sources. It's grown from there, and now it's, I look forward to it every year, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing where it grows from here.
Well, it's if this is too personal or too far, down the business line, I apologize. But there was an open bar.
There was.
So I'm looking at I had to go back to the check-in table and be like, well, okay, what's the charitable, who Kevin Warren, president of the Chicago Bears, did he pay for the open bar? Holy cow!
No. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Darcy
Wow.
Glazer-Kaslowitz, is an incredible champion of our cause. She's been with us on this since the COVID. So 2020, remember that was the last Combine we had before the world shut down?
Yeah.
And then we had a virtual event the next year. She spoke at it, and she has been funding our event for the last five times. And it's incredible.
Good for
I
you.
am so grateful for her support in this. And ESPNW got involved this year. They're raffling off registration to one of their summits. We can't do it alone, but to watch the growth, to watch the people who have made it a priority.
Yeah.
And to see, owners in the NFL put their money where their mouth is, more or less, in being a champion for women in this industry and people like myself, it really means a lot.
Amen. Last thing on this. So I walk in and I see that Cody Alexander cat who I just followed on Twitter. And so it's he's the only other guy. And I'm like, we're friends now until, there are more people here. Well, then I see Tatum Everett. Well, she's in there. And so
Tatum
graciously, just kind of welcomed me in because it was just different. I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
And then I met the lady who covers the New Orleans Saints for ESPN named Catherine Terrell. And after we went down the road with a couple of Sean Payton anti-Vike related stories that will be off the radio, this lady, this woman knows as much about, I've worked in horse racing and called horse races for 30 years.
Yeah.
And that's like her passion away from what she does. So, I just don't run into people frequently who are correcting me on who rode Derby winners in the mid-'70s and the Triple Crown.
It's the Bayou version of Paul Allen.
He was juiced when he came away from that. When you were on your way out and you told me, I just cornered Catherine for 35 minutes and we had this in-depth conversation about
Why
horse
you got to say
racing.
cornered?
You said the cornered. You're I monopolized her time.
Yeah, I know, and I apologize. She was I'm sorry
no,
to
but
take
she enjoyed it, and that's
30 minutes of your
that's
time.
the benefit of it. People getting to meet people for the first time and fostering relationships and all that. Now, you had us. Who was the guy?
The announcer?
At Arlington.
So here's what happened. Courtney had shown me a picture from days gone by with her and Catherine Terrell at Ascot.
Yeah, Royal Ascot in 2019.
Royal Ascot 2019. I mean, it's the Queen's Play. It's just a massive, massive horse racing day. It's with worldly appeal. Beautiful dresses, hats. The guys all wear tuxedos, top hats, all that. So she sent me a picture of her and Catherine Terrell at Ascot. All right, now we fast forward. They're at Arlington Park in Arlington Heights, and you're familiar with that, Pete. Well, I know the announcer, John Dooley, quite well. So I texted him, and I said, one of my dear friends, Courtney Cronin, and her friend, Catherine Terrell, are there. So unbeknownst to them, the horses are coming to the gate for a race, and they hear, did he say both names?
The race was named after us.
Yeah.
We're sitting in our seats.
Yeah.
We had no clue. We're like, wait a second.
Yeah. It's kind of quiet, and you hear Dooley say, they're approaching the starting gate for the Courtney Cronin Catherine Terrell Classic.
Well, now you're good friends with with Kevin Warren, and they own
Arlington Park.
Wow.
So there you go.
Full circle moment, unless they decide they want to stay in the city.
Will it be the Courtney Cronin Stadium?
Yeah, CC Downs.
I mean,
the racetrack there.
But here's the thing: is you're like, oh, you bought Arlington? Well, yeah, they name races there, right?
I don't know what's more important. I think the latter.
I don't
know if he'll agree with me on that. Maybe. I mean, who knows if they're going to build a stadium there? It's like it's been delayed.
Yeah.
There's the idea that they might stay in the city.
Yeah.
I could see them doing that.
Well, I mean, if Kevin's going to be the next commissioner of the National Football League, you better get this thing done. Stack that resume,
The thing is, with Kevin, whatever it is, it's going to get done.
Yes. Yeah, and it's going to be grandiose, and it's going to be a big picture thing. And I think we're just waiting now. Like, it's going to be the hurry up and wait game to see who blinks first between the suburbs and the Chicago
I know with Kevin,
Bears.
it's more like with Minnesota, it's the multi-use part of it. And I think that's the part of it that he's trying to get across to the mayor of Chicago and everybody saying, hey, this is not just for 10 football games a year, right? This is for
concerts,
everybody in everything.
Final Fours, Super Bowls, and like the ability to have like the multi-use, like also that part of the property with like maybe like residential, commercial. Who knows? Maybe they'll. I think modeling it after the Star in Dallas is probably like the true appeal if it was Arlington Heights, but you can do elements of that in Chicago
now,
too.
I'd never been to Arlington Park, Arlington International, as it was known at the end. Gabe's from North Carolina. I'm from D.C. So you're Chicagoans, both of you.
Yep.
Arlington Heights, is that nice real estate there? Is that a really nice town or what?
Yeah, and let me address it this way. If you talk to anybody that the Bears fans, the ones that go, once they get to their seat, they love it.
Yeah.
It's the smallest stadium now, I believe, in the NFL, only 60,000 seats.
65 maybe.
But people will sell they won't go if they don't have a parking pass.
Wow.
And if you get a parking garage pass, it could still be Uber distance away from the stadium.
Right.
So it's just not easy to get there, right? If you're going to a game, you're going to something during the week, you're leaving at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning to get there. It's just not easy to get downtown and to get out.
I see.
So one way in, one way out.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
So is it like Eden Prairie-esque? Is it,
more like off of 290. It's a lot of highways right there.
I see.
It's like East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Yeah. Raleigh, North Carolina.
I wouldn't probably go that far.
Okay.
It's probably one of the greatest states in America, but that's neither here nor there.
Now
I think Chicago is, in my opinion. It's just beautiful.
The Bears personify juicy with this offseason. I mean, your beat is the juiciest of all juicy. So I'm going through your Twitter, and I see your tweets when you put them out, generally speaking, but I had forgotten. Is Caleb Williams, the USC quarterback, is him not wanting to play for the Bears? Is that a thing?
So I don't know how it got started, but Colin Cowherd had been perpetuating this for a while that, like, he doesn't want to go to Chicago. Like, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't want to go. And then so Waddle and Sylvie had Cowherd on the next day, and he kind of walked it back about, well, that's, like, what the general idea is. Like, he definitely had some couching to do amongst it.
Yeah.
So then today Pete Thamel put out an article about Caleb, and it's basically scooping us on what we're going to do here on Friday when we talk to him.
Okay.
But he squashed the notion that he doesn't want to go to Chicago. And I don't know. He could just be saying what he's coached to say.
Yeah.
And,
really?
Doing
See,
all
I
the
didn't
right
read
things.
the full quote tweet. I saw your quote tweet, but
he
the
said
first,
he had no agenda, which I think that's.
Well, you said the Bears are in control.
Yes, like, and that ultimately what it is, because
Yeah.
people will always say, well, what about Eli Manning and the situation that he found himself in, being drafted by a team he didn't want to play with? That is such an outlier. That's such an anomaly. I don't think that'll ever, like,
Right.
if your last name's Manning, like, I get it. Like, that's probably the one time that something like that could happen.
Yeah.
But I don't see it. The Bears, if they are convicted, they're going to meet with Caleb today. If they are convicted that he is the guy, then you go ahead and trade Justin. You do something right by him in the next couple of days, or at least before the start of free agency, and you move forward. And after that happens, and I'm convinced that a trade for Fields is soon. It's interesting. DraftKings just took down the odds for for a Fields trade. I don't know why they do that today. I don't know what kind of smoke I'm reading.
They
through
generally
there.
in that world, it's generally taken off the board when they're getting too much money one side.
Okay.
Like Fields will be traded minus whatever, and then they'll come back with different odds to try to offset it and get it to balance.
Interesting. It's just like the comments that were made yesterday. This is the first time that Ryan Poles has actually entertained the idea that Fields will not be on the roster,
right,
and talking about when the timeline before the start of free agency. And it just makes the Bears will be, I don't want to say boring, but if they trade Justin Fields in the next couple of days, then it's a foregone conclusion they're taking Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
And then there's
no
drama around it.
No, you got the 9
draft.
and 78 under the cap.
Can the
seriously
Bears, can the Bears not draft him? I mean, after the Trubisky bit,
yeah.
I mean, with that team has not had a quarterback in you can almost say ever.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Cutler
correct.
maybe.
Not one that they've been able to draft and develop.
So
though.
that's kind of like the way when you step back and you look at they if you want to say fleeced Carolina, they got this put together. Did a brilliant job getting all this together. Got a great wide receiver.
Yeah.
And you've got the pick of the litter when you have a draft that has, let's face it, maybe 6 first-round quarterbacks. How can they pass on any of them? Because if any one of those guys, it's not just Trubisky versus whomever. It's 6 different guys that they passed on, and if any one of these guys pay off, you're going to hear it again.
Yeah, well, look, they just passed on the offensive rookie of the year.
Right.
They gave up the opportunity to draft Stroud last year, and Poles said yesterday they're not going to make this decision based on the fear of what might happen, what might not happen. And if you're reading between the lines there, it's, well, what if Justin Fields, you trade him to Atlanta and he goes and succeeds and wins a Super Bowl? You can't not pull off a trade just in the off chance that happens, whatever the percentage is. You've got to do what's best for this franchise. In long term, I mean, they're the first team in the common draft era, so since 1967, to have the number 1 pick in back-to-back years, 1 year after trading it. That never happens.
That's crazy.
It's such a unique situation. If they only had number 9, we're not talking about them trading Justin Fields. We're talking about them giving him another year, picking up the 5th-year option, continuing to build around him. They're not. It's such a rare. It's not that. I always try to put it like this. It's not that Justin did anything so egregious, that was so wrong, so bad. I mean, he's a top 20 quarterback at the moment, maybe on a good day. There's a lot of mid in his game, and I think that
there's still people see a lot of potential.
Exactly, but you can't hedge your careers on potential.
Who is the offensive coordinator?
Shane Waldron.
And what do you think of him? Only because you have a defensive-minded head coach. Right, and so if you draft a quarterback number 1, he can help, but he's not going to be the guy that, unlike Minnesota, where if we draft, our head coach was an NFL quarterback, right? We're slated to have a young quarterback. This is a perfect place for a young quarterback to succeed. Eberflus, defensive-minded guy. I think it's going to come down to the offensive coordinator, and can he develop, and has he developed any young talent at quarterback?
I mean, the draw is that he's worked with so many different quarterbacks, whether it was Jared Goff when he was with the Rams. I never know the line of delineation about who gets the credit for Geno Smith and the resurgence in his career, whether it was Dave Canales or Shane Waldron, but they all worked together.
Yeah, right.
And Geno had an incredible year in 2022, and then last season, the ability this team had to have different quarterbacks come in and out. And he also worked with Russ. I mean, there was a change in Seattle's philosophy about what they wanted to do at the position, but the amount of quarterbacks he's worked with gave the Bears the best option, that they were bringing somebody in from a West Coast scheme, the McVay Shanahan system, more or less, and that they didn't have to have the decision on Fields or on Caleb right then and there. So it could be either of them, and they feel that this system will work either way. But it is interesting on the Eberflus note. Like, that's why a lot of people are wondering, okay, why are they going to hang on to this coach?
Well, as Kevin Warren said in an
clean
interview
house.
with Jared Payton, he's like, this is his third year. This is his big year.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the same path that he followed when he was with the St. Louis Rams. So, year 3 was the year that everything took off. So is Matt Eberflus going to be his Dick Vermeil? Maybe. Probably way too early to tell on that. But if it all goes according to plan, this year 3 should be pretty big.
That's Courtney Cronin with ESPN and ESPN.com. Covers the Chicago Bears in second-to-none fashion. At Courtney R. Cronin via Twitter, or X as the kids call it. And we're in Indianapolis at the Combine.
Cece, in what world does Justin Fields stay the quarterback up for the Chicago Bears? Is there no possibility that he's wearing blue and orange next year?
I have a hard time seeing it because how can you, after the comments that were made yesterday, and I think they were all fair, you can't trot that guy out as your franchise guy after like entertaining the idea that, if you trade him, it might be before free agency. You want to do right by him. You don't want him to live in the gray. Like, I can't see it. And the way that Eberflus talked about quarterbacks yesterday, like what is the most important aspect of it? Situational awareness, fourth quarter, third downs. A lot, 2 minutes, like 2-minute drill, like all the stuff that Fields struggled with that they kept saying we need to see improvement there. That's going to solidify our decision if we can see Justin improve significantly there. He didn't improve significantly there. The numbers are still like bottom third of the NFL in every major passing category. And I think that was a telling answer from the head coach, who ultimately will also have a say in this too. And if it didn't describe Justin Fields the way that they were talking about him yesterday.
Courtney, so with a Justin Fields trade potentially quickly and or on the horizon, that I think greatly impacts what's next for Kirk Cousins. So it's, Cousins, as we had O'Connell and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah yesterday, and they both were, pretty straightforward in that, yes, we want him back, we want to sign him, but the whole thing has to work out. So like, say Justin gets traded to Atlanta. Well, then that's one fewer team for Kirk, which absolutely plays into here, right?
Absolutely. I feel like he's got the Vikings between a rock and a hard place. I think he's going to resign.
He's been good at that all of his career.
It's great work by his
him.
agent too. But
yeah,
I have a hard time believing it'll be anybody else other than Kirk for a number of reasons.
Well, what about this before you go on? Josh McCown's the new quarterbacks coach.
And you know who his agent is, right?
Who?
Mike McCartney.
Oh, wow.
That's Kirk's agent.
Jeez.
That was Mike's first client.
All right, well, we'll take Josh, and we'll go back to when he coached high school football in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he coached Drake May. I mean, that's really, really reaching here, but nevertheless, you do have a connection there.
There's a connection, but this team, that's a massive jump. You think the Wolves are going to give the sign-off to go up from 11? What is it, 13 or 11?
I mean, you follow it's 11,
or 2?
or maybe 3. You you follow the NFL closely, and you saw the Vikings twice last year. I'm not exactly sure you completely understand or feel the complexity of what that 4-quarterback human clipping penalty was last year. I mean, like Dobbs when they win in Atlanta, all right, and his running's unbelievable. I mean, people are like, wow, if he can throw. I mean, you're going to get a quarterback who can run like the wind, and they're all chasing after the wind with this guy for like 3 years, $21-25 million. That'd be unbelievable. Then they asked him to throw. And then we moved,
I saw it.
And then we moved on to Mullins.
I saw it. I was there for that game in November.
Yeah.
No, I mean, they've got to get this is their one chance if you're thinking about it long term. Can they move on from Cousins? Can they get out from under any more contracts that they get linked to with him? And can they start over? Can they finally hit reset at that position? But then the other layer. Who does Justin Jefferson want throwing him the ball?
Right.
Like, you got to keep your number one player on the team happy. What if it's a rookie quarterback that they don't gel with right away? Justin wants
Ask
to sign
DJ
the contract
Moore,
now.
who came out and absolutely was like, I love Justin. And, I mean, he did the same thing with JJ for Kirk.
I think DJ is a great teammate. I think that you can read those. I don't think he's not going to be thrilled if Caleb Williams is the quarterback of the Bears. I think he was
fair point.
Speaking about his guy and had Justin's back. And I didn't read.
And you don't think JJ's doing the same thing?
Has he been talking? Has he said anything? I feel like he's been real quiet this offseason.
Well, he
said he likes Kirk.
in
Kirk
Ghana for a while.
He wasn't in his top 5 list, though, last August. Remember
That's
that?
a good point.
And then before that, he's not as swaggy as Joe Burrow.
I mean,
He has a grill now.
He
though.
just
Did you see
reposted
it?
Kirk Cousins'
Kirk?
Instagram
Yeah, Kirk got a
video.
grill, like,
That's
the other
temporary
day.
grill terrorism.
I mean-
It has to be.
I mean, he actually got like someone that
That's marketing.
actually mowed it to
That's
his
Yeah.
teeth.
That's marketing.
Yeah, we got time for a couple more, Gabe.
In what world, I wouldn't even say this, but when you look at both teams, the Bears and the Vikings, let's say they do decide to go young quarterback. Infrastructurally, which team has a better infrastructure to build a young quarterback around? To build a team around a young quarterback?
If it's not the Bears,
Yeah.
or
No, the Bears and Vikings.
Yeah.
Like if they both decide to go rookie quarterback early in the draft.
Well, I
When you
mean,
look
the
at current
Vikings'
roster-
offensive line
Okay.
is far and away a better situation to bring a rookie quarterback into the fold. Like, the idea that with Caleb Williams is that you don't need protection that's that great because he is so good off script. He's got all the arm angles. He can do all of the things.
Yeah.
But I still, the Bears are in a much better spot than they were a year ago. So if you're drafting a rookie quarterback with the best pick in the draft, you're not bringing him into a bad team. You're bringing him into a team that had one of the best defenses in the NFL after the halfway point of the season once they acquired Montez Sweat. You've got, a thoroughbred in DJ Moore. You've got the what did you say, $78 million? Is that what it's up to now?
78 and change.
Like
Goodness.
in cap space,
Yeah.
that's a receiver.
More
that's
than enough
maybe
money.
Daniil Hunter.
Oh,
that's
geez.
I'm not trying to I
Oh,
had
no,
to say it this
that was-
morning.
That was the last question.
That was going to be my
right, because I've been for like 2 weeks. If the Bears, and I'm not trying to run him out of town, I love him, but if the Bears or the Lions, with the money they have, do not make a run at this guy, pull him from a rival, and bookend him either with Aiden Hutchinson or Montez Sweat.
Yeah.
Now, I think if he leaves, he's going to go to Jacksonville. That's just my personal.
What's the feel on Jacksonville?
No state income tax in Florida. Excuse me, I'm sorry. No, you got a
Josh
good
Allen.
quarterback and Travis Etienne, and you got Josh Allen and Trayvon.
Walker.
Thank you, Walker. Yeah, so warm weather, but yeah, they got a lot of salary cap money, and I bet you they call about Daniil.
It's a good defensive line group in free agency. You can upgrade the three
Wow.
technique spot.
Yeah.
You can. I mean, what they do in free agency will truly dictate what they do at number 9 if they move back, because the options here, and we saw what happened when you added an instant impact player like Montez Sweat, the back end of the defense,
Yeah.
like they started, all the
Yeah, they got a
takeaways
little better.
started coming through.
So
God,
Montez was awesome, right? Like
Fantastic.
every game.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
because he was in with Washington.
Well, I think the way that Washington
Scheme.
makes sense to me,
Yeah.
and you would get this having been there, it's like having 4 20-point scorers on a basketball
Yeah.
team
Yeah.
and like no chemistry. And there's all that talent up front, and for whatever reason, it just didn't manifest into anything other than
Yeah.
a middle of the road team with
I
a lot of
would agree with
changes.
that.
and the recognition like the Bears gave him, saying we're trading for you, going to give you a new contract. You're our
Like
guy.
right away, within like 6 days,
He
gave him a new
responded to that
contract.
very well.
He did.
He's
and
an elite pass rusher.
Yep.
Elite, in my opinion.
You have any TV today or anything? Any around the horn hits from the combine? Waddle and Sylvie on radio? What you doing?
they're coming down tomorrow. So
What?
they're going to be here, I think, throughout Thursday, Friday,
Wow.
which is great. You won't get to see them.
Yeah,
because
I
you're
leave
leaving.
later today, and I love Waddle and Sylvie.
They're wonderful. So yeah, a lot of TV, a lot of radio, just kind of making the rounds and all of that. But always glad to be on with you guys.
My
So
superstar friend,
thank you
it's
for
awesome
having
seeing you.
me.
Thanks for making time. Thanks for the event last night.
Yeah.
And man, that was fantastic. That's Courtney Cronin, ESPN, ESPN.com.